Johnny
school.
Pump.
The
People-
Johnny Pump, of
yeah.
course.
Nobody knew what
Johnny
a Johnny Pump was.
Nobody knows what the Johnny
Nobody
Pump
knew what a
is.
Johnny Pump was.
I mean, some people.
Yeah.
did.
You don't know what a Johnny Pump is? It's a fire hydrant.
Oh, here we
Oh.
go.
Hey, Anthony, where'd you get this podcasting stuff from?
It fell off the back of a truck. We're back on the Breaking Bread podcast, and I'm here with Tara Cannistraci, or should I say Cannistraci?
Either way,
Welcome to the show.
thank you for having me
Yeah, thanks, Tara. Thanks for coming again.
again.
Again. Really.
Dressed fancy today.
Yeah, like a gentleman.
Dressed nice.
Thank you. I bought these pants for a different, for some occasion. I really don't wear like patterns on my legs. Just like a.
It's pattern?
Yeah, it's like a plaid. It's like a gray, blue plaid.
Maybe it looks tweed-like, but it's not. I don't see a pattern here.
And then I got this shirt for Christmas.
From who?
My mother-in-law.
Nice.
My mother-in-law buys me clothes, shirts, stuff like that. She likes the fact that I,
Dress nice.
yeah. Or she puts it that you dress, like a character out of The Sopranos
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just take more pride in what I wear now that, I don't know. I lost the weight.
He's
It's
trying-
easier to buy stuff.
He's like a swimsuit model.
He
Like
is.
a swimsuit, God forbid.
Swimsuit model.
I think that's
the.
no. Don't
No.
worry. Me in a swimsuit is the last thing you want to model for anything.
What do you mean? You got the Tom Selleck look with like the nice hairy chest, hairy beard.
I think if I was in a
Why are you looking at
swimsuit,
his chest?
I think if I was in a swimsuit,
I'm
I could
Italian.
only-
I have a hairy chest. I'm assuming he has.
I could only model for like Chernobyl or something like that.
Chernobyl.
Like in a swimsuit right now.
Timberland.
But anyway, we were, especially after Christmas. I feel like I every time this Christmas comes along, I lose like probably 10 pounds leading up to it because I'm hosting or running around and all that or on the road or something like that. And then for the period between Christmas and New Year's, when I'm home, I gain it all back. It's
I feel like when
nuts.
I'm hosting, I
Yeah.
don't eat as much because like I'm so running around.
You're
and
moving
I'm
everywhere.
cooking and I'm not eating. I'm like not sitting down to eat.
Do you have a lot of leftovers?
But I did. I know. I bought these tins and they had like Christmas tops. Are we filming?
Yeah.
Like Christmas
Yeah.
tops. And I'm like no idea. I've been talking the whole time. And people get to take home like goodie take like almost like the Chinese food takeaway ones.
Yeah.
That's a good
I got
idea.
Christmas ones and people. I said next course, fill up what you want and take it before the next course comes, and then
Oh,
they would
that's
fill
good.
it up and then.
Easy idea for a cleanup too.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know
don't have
what?
to
Maybe
worry
I
about-
did it. That's the right way to do it. See, I did it at the end where I put everything out. And I guess by the end, everyone was so full that they didn't even want to think of food.
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at it again.
And
No,
they just,
I
you
do
know,
andibas, take it, and then I do ravioli, take them if you want them, and everybody wants them because they go to Arthur Avenue for them.
Of course. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then the next meal, I'm like, the meats and stuff. I'm like, take them.
So they were little Christmas tree boxes, like the Chinese takeout.
Yeah,
that they had
it's
Christmas
like
tree
like
on
the
them.
foil, like the aluminum ones.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they put the top and you like bend them over. They just had different Christmas designs on them.
That's very cool. I like that.
see that, but like it's getting rid of all the food is tough, and because sometimes you're like I went through all that trouble
I know.
to go
Yeah.
and get it. Where do you find the time to go to Arthur Avenue before
know.
Christmas? This is a busy, very, very busy time of
I
year.
know. I didn't get home
And
until the
entertainment.
22nd from
Yeah.
the road, and I went on the 23rd. It was mayhem. It was so crazy. It was so crazy, but I knew I wanted certain things from certain places. And then I went back on the 24th, which was actually less busy, believe it or not. Christmas Eve was less busy there because I think a lot of people were off this year for that Monday. So
What are your go-to spots? Like, what are your you're on your way there. You know
I'm
you
going to
got
go to
your work cut in
Randazzo's
you.
for the fish market.
Of course,
I go to Bugatti for the
of
ravioli.
course.
If I'm getting cannoli, I'll go to Gino's pastry shop.
How
I
is
go to
that?
Madonia Bakery for the bread.
Oh, the
I
best.
brought the bread here last time
Yes.
I
Yeah.
came, the
Oh,
olive
yeah, the
bread.
olive-
That was
bread.
that's the best spread
We broke
around.
bread.
Yes, I go to I went to Vincent's meat. I go to Vincent's meat market for my meat. So it's I hit all the spots.
How was Gino's? Because I know when Sal and I went to Chaz's
Chaz.
house, he swears by it. He swears
Yeah.
by it like it's the greatest.
They're
thing
childhood friends too. That was
Yeah.
even in the Broadway show,
Mm-hmm.
the musical. There was Gino's Pastry Shop on in the Bronx Tale musical. But yeah, I just love all those.
Yeah, Jerome
spots.
does a
and
nice
it's not
job.
far, from me still. So I still go. It's very. I mean, I film a lot in that neighborhood. I always try and like highlight the mom and pop places in the Bronx, and so it's nice to go back and actually be a customer. I go to Title Brothers. I went to Title Brothers for all my others. I mean, you can get everything you need in one, like a 2-block radius.
Yeah, I think that's like the trouble when your parents come from different neighborhoods, is you feel like you have to go to different places.
You have an
For different
allegiance.
things.
And
Yeah.
down here, it's like everything is 3 miles or an hour.
Right,
Like that's how it is getting around, especially that Monday before Christmas. That
It was
nuts.
crazy. I was like, this is actually, and I woke up really early on Christmas Eve, and I was like, it's going to be, because like the line for Casa de Mozzarella is like, I don't know
Around
if
the
people just
corner.
want to say that it's like down the block, around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's actually insane.
Yeah, I've done that a couple
And it's
times.
freezing, and it was
Yeah.
snowing, and it was like people are in line. There is some sort of like hype to it. Like if you go with somebody and you like stop at one place, go to Tino's, have a prosecco and a mozzarella, and like
Yeah.
like you make lunch
a day of it.
and make a day of it. It's better. But because I was on the road from the 22nd, I was just like in the zone where I was like,
Mission.
get me in, get me out, get me.
Yeah.
People were DMing me like, we saw you today, and I'm like, you should have said hello. I could say hi, but I was just, you could tell I was probably like.
When
In the
you're in
zone.
that zone, you kind of look pissed off.
Right.
I
I
realized
was like,
that.
did I not look approachable? Because I was just like,
No,
I was just about to ask, like, did you get into fights with like anyone? Because those days, like right before Christmas, it's prime time fight season.
Yeah.
in
know?
in like stores.
Like
and stuff.
especially after
No.
being on the road, you're dealing with like the public,
Yeah.
and traveling and everything is a pain.
it was
and
tough.
then you go to the store, and now it's like amplified. So people
Yeah.
only go out 3 times a year.
Right. No, I mean it was like one guy who was like went ahead of me a little bit in the meat market, and he had a cowboy hat on, and it was like if he places his order before me, I'm gonna be like cowboy. No, but like the Bronx is gonna come out right now, but he didn't. But it was like he moved up like ahead of me, and I was like, please don't put your order in. Please don't try and put your order in before me.
Oh, you're
Today
making the
is not
hypotheticals.
the day
Yeah.
Yeah.
to do it.
That's great. You're getting prepared
Yeah,
to come at
yeah.
some guy for cutting
nice
in front of you at
borough.
the
It's nice
butcher.
That's the
Italian
most New
borough
York thing ever.
mentality.
Yeah.
That's the
it's
way to
like
do
you
it.
can take the girl out of the Bronx, but you can't take the Bronx out of the girl.
I knew you had a story like that. Like as soon as you said like Christmas Eve and like the lines around the block and everything, I'm like, she definitely has a story of some like out of towner because clearly the cowboy hat.
There's a lot of them on Arthur Avenue, usually during the week, which is great. I love that they're coming to the neighborhood and supporting and getting, who they are. You know who doesn't blend. But as long as they didn't cut me online, I was fine.
So that's like the thing. Like you're in the neighborhood and you go film down there because you love it and because you want the world who loves you to love what you love and keep the neighborhood alive. And then when they finally show up, it's like, all right, pal, order what you want.
right.
Move the fuck out of the way.
Can you now speed it up. Speed it up.
Yeah.
Like we're not here all day.
And you could correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like the Bronx gets no love like amongst the Italian like. I don't know if you want to call it like the influencing world. Like I feel like it doesn't get as much love as all the other spots.
I mean, it got a lot of love from me and Chaz.
No, well,
Chaz
obviously
more than
from you-
anybody.
yeah,
It's like
sure.
painted
No,
all
100%.
But
I
yes,
feel like just from like your corner, like you guys and everything, like you do a great job of it.
Yeah, I always try and highlight the Bronx as much as it's where I'm from. I called the tour I'm coming up now. I called it the Bronx Barbie Tour because a lot of people were. It came from a joke and then it kind of stuck and people started calling me that. I would never self-proclaim myself the Bronx Barbie, but because the audience liked it so much, I named the tour that. But I do feel like. Every time I do interviews now, everybody's like, let's talk about the Bronx, which I think is great because let's face it, if you're not from New York, you think Yankee Stadium or the Bronx Zoo, and that's all you know of the Bronx. So me being very vocal about my childhood and, the real Little Italy being the real New
That's
York,
accurate.
real Little Italy being from the Bronx, it's a nice way to like highlight the borough.
My mother like actively tried to get me into Fordham University just because
Of
Of
Lindsay
what?
there.
she wanted an excuse to go to Arthur Avenue
That
more
is
often.
great.
Like she was hanging over my shoulder for 3 weeks to write an essay
That's
to get
so
into
funny.
Fordham. And then I got an acceptance letter. I was like, oh my God, like I got into Fordham. I'm like, great, Ma, I love you. I'm going to St. John's.
Right. Sorry. But
Yeah. But it's it is I think it's an iconic neighborhood. I think one of the best Italian festivals in the five boroughs across the whole year is Ferragosto.
It was insane this
I don't
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know of many places that have a particular Ferragosto feast, which is so important to all Italians. It's the harvest, it's family. It's for us. It's getting together and making something with our hands as a family. And the fact that there's a whole feast that several blocks
Live
and a stage.
performances,
Yeah,
When is the
DJs.
feast?
it's Ferragosto.
August.
I don't know this.
Ferragosto. It's the middle of August, right? August.
Yeah, but in Arthur Avenue, I think they did it in. I think they.
Do they do it in September?
Yeah.
Well,
No, because a lot of people are like away in August. They
Yeah.
were like on vacation.
Because
Who's in Disney? Who's
San
here, who's
Gennaro is
there.
also the end of August, right?
no.
Or is it
No,
the beginning of
it's
September.
It's in
It's all
September.
September.
It
But
was September.
but that's the first place I saw Uncle Floyd Vivino.
Oh, Uncle
I like that's it's I love it. The Bronx is the best, especially because it's represented so well now.
That's right.
Speaking of which, you're incredibly busy. You have an
Thank
incredible
you.
tour ahead of you.
I'm
I was
excited.
just telling her that.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh well, I'm glad that you think so." I'm like, you're blowing up from
You
the
don't-
last time she was here.
You don't realize it when you're in it. Sal will tell you. You're like, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, now I have a tour. But I'm excited about it. It starts January 9th. I'll be kicking it off in North Carolina, and it's about 6 months now, just in the U.S. and Canada, just to.
Do you find that your audience is like mainly Italian American, or like it's kind of diverse?
So I feel like it's become diverse now with me being very I did very New York things, and I think a lot of people who used to live in New York and then move out of New
Yeah.
York get very nostalgic over it, and those are all different walks of life, right? New York's like the melting pot. But I do feel like my audience, even though I'm a mainstream comic, I talk about this all the time. I'm not necessarily. I don't talk. I'm not just talking about Italian
Of
things
course,
on
yeah.
stage. My most loyal fans are Italians, and Italians, as Sal will tell you, buy tickets in droves. They buy tickets for their kids, their parents.
They spend money.
They spend money. They get in the VIP seats. They make you feel like royalty.
They
And,
make you feel like family when
yeah.
Italian American fans come. They introduce you to everybody.
They're like, oh, you want to come over tomorrow
Oh,
for
yeah.
dinner? You could stay at my house. You don't got to stay at the hotel. I'm like, could you imagine? But they're so sincere. But they're like, yeah, don't get a room. Like, you could just stay at my mother's house. I'm like, oh my God, she'll
think-
make you breakfast.
I think also the best part about Italian American fans is that they make your more mainstream fan base feel closer to you
Yeah.
in
More
some
authentic.
strange
Yeah.
way because they're acting like they're your aunts and uncles sitting in the audience.
And they're the loudest ones in the room.
Right. They kind of light it up for everyone else. However, it's definitely not just that. The last time I saw you live, I'm ashamed to say, was over a year ago. It was Paulie's dinner
Yes.
in Manhattan at the
Paulie.
Cutting Room.
Uh-huh.
And you did a set that, of course, it had the Italian American stuff, especially because it's Paulie's dinner and
Right,
it's a
right.
whole
It was
like
themed.
Italian American themed night. But the way you broke out with like just such, I don't want to say edgy because it wasn't. It was just just everything was spot on. Everything was incredibly relatable to a broad audience. I was like, oh man.
Thank
This is
Yeah,
Tara's
that's the
year.
goal.
This
The
is
goal
it.
is you want everybody in the room to feel included.
Everyone was roaring.
Just to backtrack a little bit, I noticed that you said that the real Little Italy is the Bronx. Why did you say that? I'm just curious.
Just because there's it's a constant. It's like one of those sauce gravy battles that I have too many brain cells to get into. But a lot of people usually like, Bronx or New York because we both have a little Italy. Manhattan when I say New York, and then so it's always like, well, I'm from the Bronx. That's where the real Little Italy is from. But I also do feel like it's still like the shops and everything is still. It's the same owners. It's the same.
Yeah.
Also, the scale has
And it's
really
more
changed.
authentic. It's
Yeah.
definitely more authentic, 100%. Like, it's not gimmicky in any way possible.
Yeah, the footprint hasn't shrunk.
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like Little Italy in like the city, like they kind of fell like it's just like a big gimmick now.
Well, they
I
have
don't
the
know.
big feast down
Like
there
Italian
every
Disney World.
year.
Well, what was the transition of the Bronx being the original Little Italy, and then now why is it the city? Like,
What do you
was-
mean the
Well,
transition?
there were two. No, there were always two.
No, there were
Several.
always two.
They were
There were always
separate. There
two.
were
No, I
always
know,
two
but like
Little
it was.
Italy.
I feel like there was a big like switch of like the old school was always the Bronx, and in the past like what 20, 30 years.
Well, they
then
do the
everyone thinks of
feast.
San Gennaro. Everyone thinks of that area.
Some of the restaurants have changed the Manhattan location, and the
Well-
feast was different this year. I thought in
They
some
weren't.
ways.
They weren't
Definitely a
taken
lot
over
different.
by like the next generation of people. Like you said, there's a lot of
Right.
people, the same families in the businesses. For
Title
decades.
Brothers is 5 generations.
Yeah.
Jerome's still at Geno's. I see the same faces I've seen for years in some of those markets and Mike's Deli, and so which is very familiar. It's very neighborhood still. So I think that's the difference. It's where when you go to Manhattan, it's more touristy to me.
Yep.
Whereas when you go, even though we get a ton of tourists in the Bronx, I'm so grateful for that. But like, it's still very much a neighborhood where you just see the same people. Everybody says hello, and listen, maybe it's that way in certain parts of the Manhattan location. I don't get that sense because I'm not from there, and when I go there for the feast, it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
But for me, it's very neighborhood still. The Bronx is still a very old school feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of friends in Little Italy. I'm not talking about your spots. You know who you are.
There's
Listen, everybody's gonna take offense to it. It doesn't make a difference what
Yeah.
you say anymore.
Do you go through that a lot?
Oh, do I go through it? I get brutalized. I don't care anymore. I have so much fun with the people saying mean stuff. Sometimes I'm like, I shouldn't be. I gotta actually ignore them. at this
someone
point.
needs to take this away.
I
from
gotta
me.
take the phone out of my hand.
They're gonna think I
because-
have way
like-
too much time.
Yeah, which is what I complain to them. I'm like, you have way too much time in your hands, but I'm responding.
I can't even imagine for you and Sal. Like I like get in trouble if like I post an old story to kind of make it like it's new, like just to keep up with social media. People like, oh, you went there today and you didn't come here. I'm just like,
I know people do that.
it's very like I don't even think about my own day.
Even when I was
that
mentioning
much.
places in Little Italy, I'm like, oh God, I'm going to say this place, but not this place. And then when it
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah,
when you
no,
walk
that's
in
exactly
there-
what went
they're
through
gonna
my
be like,
head.
oh, you couldn't mention us on the podcast.
I was like, I'm gonna piss off like 3 different people. I'm getting like 6 phone calls.
I was in the car with you when you did that. You posted something from like 4 months ago, and someone's like, "Why didn't you come here today?" It's like this was from like July.
Yeah.
It is December. There's no.
Do you ever like start arguing with someone and like they're getting like incredibly personal because your entire life is on
Yeah.
social media?
People have said horrific things.
So then you like go on a
I
deep
could
dive.
I mean, I'm Sicilian. I could be
You
the
could be
venom
brutal,
I could
right?
spew.
Yeah.
My husband's be like, "Oh my God, these people are gonna need therapy. Like you can't,
Definitely need therapy.
you can't say these things." No, after I'm done with them,
Oh,
with
oh.
some of the things I say.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to. I really do not subscribe to resolutions, but I really have to stop responding to people on social media.
Yeah, I'm right there
Except
with
for
you.
the good
That's-
ones. I
It's
have
very
to.
difficult too, because how many times during a day does someone say something that really pisses you off, and you can't like.
I screenshot them sometimes and post them to my story so that other people can see what I've responded
that.
to.
That's
I'm
good,
like
though.
I'm 12 years old. Yeah, I'm in middle school.
I know you are, but
People
what am
should
I?
know because I feel like they think like only you're seeing that. Like they're so dumb that they don't realize that other people see it.
I had a woman come at me really disgusting, and she was a young girl in her 20s or something, and I don't know what propelled me to like look her up and like find her employer.
Oh no!
She was so unhinged that I'm like, if she's working with customers, I think you should be alarmed. If
Yeah.
This is the like, and I'm from the don't rat on your friend, don't open your mouth. But it was like this was public, and so publicly, if this was displayed, then anybody can see it, and then they can see it. And I was just like, that's a lesson to her. It's like these things will follow you, like to young kids mostly. Like you can write certain things, you can have opinions. I don't like something, I keep scrolling. I'll think to my head, oh, that's stupid. But
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
writing.
No,
it.
100%.
There's a big difference between ratting
Right.
and telling
yeah.
someone
Right.
in so many words,
Right.
in the best way possible without using these words to go fuck
Right.
themselves.
And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? She shouldn't lose her job, but she should know that what you say
She's reachable.
online and what you do can follow
Yeah, has-
you
has-
and trace
has the
you and has
consequences.
repercussions. And
she's still
saying
employed.
taught her a lesson.
that you wish I'd have a baby, that it would die, and I mean, like the
Oh my
things were
God,
like
yeah.
so insane and unhinged that you go, oh my God, this person's not well, and for her, she got humbled real quick. And I said, listen, I don't want you to lose, and because I went right at her and I was like, you should really watch. You should use this as a lesson, and like, that's pretty powerful.
So did
Like-
you actually send
Oh
it?
yeah,
or you-
Rights
or-
HR.
yeah,
Rights HR.
Is
Right
she
in their
still
email,
employed?
they apologized to me and were,
I know exactly
completely
how
embarrassed.
it caught her eye, because this is how it happens. You have thousands of people
Yeah.
commenting,
Yeah.
but that catches your
It
eye.
didn't even bother me. The sick part was I was like, but this girl's gonna go through life. Like I almost did it like a favor to her. Like
Yeah.
it didn't hurt me. Like I don't think that's gonna happen to me. I don't believe that if you wish that on me, it's true. I think it's sad that you would even think that on a stranger because I made a Barbie joke or like something so ridiculous, right? Defend, whatever. But anyway, it was one of those things where I was like, you gotta watch what you put online. Even myself, sometimes I say these horrible comments, and I'm like, I gotta stop responding to people
But
horrifically.
tearing people apart every once in a
Yeah.
while is a lot of fun.
It is. Sometimes I enjoy it a little.
It's
too
like
much.
sport.
Yeah.
I'm
so good at it. If I
right.
wasn't so good,
Right.
good at it, I
Hey, do
wouldn't
you want a
it.
job?
It'd be a
I
way-
have plenty
I'd
of
honestly
clients that would
sometime-
want,
You're
a
right.
ghostwriter.
Sometimes you're like, I am so good at this that
Ghost
it would be
responder.
Right,
it would
right.
be a waste of my talent.
People are like, don't stop posting them, or they're so good, your responses. I'm like, no, I really should not be
Hey,
doing this.
Chaz Palminteri says himself that the
Yeah.
saddest thing in life is wasted
Yeah,
talent.
and
that
it is
a talent.
It is a
It is.
talent. My venom.
Ghostwriter.
I see Sal reply to some of the comments, and it is. I enjoy what you respond to some of these
That's
comments.
good.
It's
Some of it's good.
hilarious. It's hilarious.
I
My
like
wife,
notice it.
my wife has
Notice
taught
it
me.
too.
I know you. I leave the
notice it.
messages
I know.
sometimes. Oh,
I
yeah.
know. I notice it. He knows I see it, but I don't address it. I'm like,
100%.
hopefully he didn't see it, and I just kind of act like it did.
You know what? I leave it for this guy to know. Like,
Yeah.
God forbid you ever get out of line with me.
Right.
I'm gonna tear you down. I'm gonna
Well, let
come
me
for
tell you something. People don't realize, and sometimes I just write this like, "Thank you for your comment. It really helped this post go viral." Like,
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
because all the negative comments really do help because
Any comment.
the videos get
engagement.
Do you ever pin your favorite comments so that you just let the public just rip on them?
Oh, people find Italians are fiercely
Yeah,
loyal
exactly.
and defensive over you. So it's like sometimes I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna leave you to the wolves right here. my fans are gonna come at you so hard. I'm actually gonna take a step back right now.
Not even my fam. My wife is Sicilian. Her and her
Yeah.
cousins. Boy, oh boy. They're like the FBI.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's true.
It's incredible what they could
I
dig
know.
up. And then they'll send me stuff.
Yeah.
I'll have forgotten about it
Right.
3 days ago. I'll be on a plane going,
Yeah.
somewhere fabulous to work, and I should be thinking about
Yeah.
that. And I'll get this message like, hey, this guy who commented this about this on this post, like his mom just passed away. Maybe this is something you want to run with.
Oh, I've tagged people's wives and be like, you really think your husband should be speaking to a woman this way? Because I'll find their wives on the account.
That is the best.
And
I'm
some
not gonna
woman
lie.
messaged
That's
me. She's
legendary.
like, I am appalled by him. I'm going to speak to him when he gets home. He responded with apologies. I was like,
Wow.
what is happening right now? My friend
That's
Tracy
amazing.
told me that she had done it once. I was like, I'm going to do it. And
That is
incredible.
legendary. That is
And
legendary.
I was
You come
like,
at me,
look
I'll
at how
find your wife.
husband is speaking to another woman. He's in all these pictures with you, praising his queen, and here I am. What am I? That he's going to say all these horrible things to a woman, and she's just like, that is, I am embarrassed.
It is one thing to make an employer aware,
Yeah, I
but
went,
to
yeah.
tell the guy's
He had
wife,
to go home and not get laid. You know how hard that was for him?
that's
got
to be several weeks. That's got to go
No, it's
on.
gotta be
Dinner was
weeks. That's
cold
gotta
be That goes
on
on.
the table.
He's
That
being
dinner
reminded
was cold.
every time he's on his Instagram and she catches it.
I said to him, I
He's
hope
getting
your
reminded.
dinner was as cold as your comments to me.
That is legendary.
Yeah.
That is
Honestly,
incredible.
don't fuck with Tara.
That's
No.
it. I'm coming
Don't
for
fuck
you
with
guys.
Tara.
Don't
Coming
fuck with
for you.
Tara.
No. Seriously, I'm gonna try and only. I get so much love. That's the other horrible part about this is the majority of the comments are so beautiful and they champion you. And I'll find the one comment where they
Badass.
writ me, and I'm like,
That's great.
now
Now you're going to have a
now
terrible
I'm gonna
day.
give it to you. Now I'm gonna make you go to therapy.
I was having a wonderful day.
Right.
I was having a wonderful day
Right.
wading through the love that I
Right.
receive,
Right.
that I so
Yeah.
yearn for. And
Yeah.
now your comment is going to get all my attention. You won.
Right.
So how do you like, I guess, compartmentalize it and put it to like the back of your head? Because I just don't read them, and then if one catches my eye, like how you said, Like, it's obviously always like the most brutal one for some strange reason.
Always.
You know,
Like,
and then I get a
that I
text.
see.
It's like, dude, do you really think this about the video? I'm like, Anthony.
It's hard.
The video's fine.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like I've garnered my audience. People know who I am. If you're following me and you're offended, then you probably shouldn't be following me. You know that everything I say is a joke.
Well, that's your job.
Right.
You are a
It's literally
comedian.
my job. But I guess I don't know. I don't feel as I play around with them too much, but they don't like even the mean comments, because they'll tear me apart from what I look like, sound like. It just doesn't bother me anymore. It used to. I used to be like, oh my God, I can't put out another video. And then I'm like, well, these people aren't paying my bills. I have to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And I need an audience. And
Good for you.
it
No,
just doesn't make a difference.
It's a
to me anymore.
distraction at the end of the day.
Right.
It really is. You're
And
right.
if videos getting hate, I'm like, it's gonna get that much more love.
Yeah.
I got to make you laugh as we're talking about this, and then we'll change topics. I feel like the Italian love for like me is like 50-50 because I don't look Italian, even though I am Italian, and they think I'm pretending to be Italian, so they don't actually believe that I'm Italian.
Do they see your last name?
I guess they don't look
Well,
enough.
first,
I don't know.
But,
Anthony. I feel like
like,
we're all
I
fake.
get
We're
torn
all
to
at the end of the day,
shreds
we're all fake
by the-
Italians.
yeah.
That's
we're all
okay. That's
Italian
shreds.
Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, I get torn to shreds over it,
Yeah.
because I did. My biggest thing I came out with was when I got sentimental one day and was like, "Oh, these are words and phrases I remember hearing in my New York Italian neighborhood."
I love that video, by the way.
People-
Love that
Love
video.
I mean, the comments, you would think they would hang me on a cross. They would like sacrifice. I should be stoned in Italy for the comments that I get in this video because I'm like Mamadel and like School of Boss and I say all these things, but just because I got sentimental, it was not to be funny.
But we all grew up with that as like Italian Americans. Like I knew every word that you said, and
Right.
my even my family's off the boat too. But
Right.
I knew every single word. Like I grew up.
Yeah,
with it.
but Anthony, we're just pigs because our grandparents sacrificed everything
Right.
and we made
Yeah.
it here. That's,
Right? It's really
That's terrible.
It's terrible the way we come at each other. I always often wonder, like, are other cultures this like cutthroat to each other? Like, I wish that we could just be like, wow, how beautiful that your family migrated and changed it, but it still rings true to home, where you're still proud to be of our ethnicity. Instead,
Yeah.
it's like, you fake, you should die, you can't, nobody knows what you're talking about. You're not real Italian, you're an American. No, I'm an Italian American. Like, that's, yes, I'm American. Of course I'm American. I'm born and raised in the Bronx, New York. But I'm of Italian descent. Like, I'm an Italian American. All of us have something else besides just American. Like,
Yeah,
the
100%.
ignorance amongst Italians sometimes is mind-blowing. And I often think, like, do other cultures do this to each other?
You mentioned you're on tour in Canada. I got friends in Canada who are Portuguese, and that's what they do. They post like, Portuguese stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't see the Portuguese people
No.
coming at them like the Italians.
That's what I'm
kind of
saying.
crazy.
I definitely think Italians are more cutthroat kind of with each other, and that's why
I hate that.
we
Yeah, I would
haven't
agree.
like I don't know what the word is, like we haven't
Evolved?
evolved like how other cultures have. Like plenty of other cultures have stuck together through everything.
I think-
and
That's why kind of like what Tara's doing with her tour. It's you either evolve your act and
yeah, true.
and broaden yourself to different people and more cultures so that you kind of don't have to rely on them. And
Right.
anyway, if you ever did a tour in Italy,
Right.
no one would buy tickets.
Right, no.
It's not
And
because of you.
nor
It's because
should
they're
they.
the cheapest
It's-
people on planet Earth.
Yeah.
But, I mean, listen, eventually, yes, I'll do Australia. I'll do
Australia, they'll go nuts.
They're gonna
Yeah.
go
London,
nuts
they'll
for-
They
go
would love
nuts.
you
Yeah,
there.
London, they'll go. But, like, so
Just like
it's
in Canada, they'll go
right.
nuts.
So I'm gonna tell you, when I go to Canada, sometimes I'm more proud to be Italian when I go to Canada than I am in some of the places
Absolutely.
here. They know who's Napolitan in that restaurant,
Yeah.
who's Sicilian in this one. They really know Italian culture amongst Canadians.
Yeah, and the generations all speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
They all
Yeah.
it's almost like that our generation in Canada reminds me of our parents' generation. here.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's like they're. I feel that.
Yeah.
That's why I love performing there.
So your upcoming tour, like, give me like a round robin of some of the new spots that maybe you haven't been to yet.
It's shameful that I'm not going to say Chicago, Philly, Boston, and Rhode Island on this tour.
Wow.
They're going to hit. We're working out those dates, but they're not. So I'm going to be in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Seattle, I'll be in Avenel, New Jersey, Poughkeepsie, New York, Washington, D.C., San Diego, Irvine, California, Toronto, Montreal, Niagara Falls, Naples, Boca, Tampa,
awesome.
Florida's
Florida,
The
There-
Trinity.
yeah.
Florida's, yeah, and I probably shouldn't even say those shows. They probably sold out already. Like New York, New Jersey, Italians
Oh,
have
yeah.
migrated, and the new motherland is now somewhere in Florida.
A lot of Sicilians
Yeah.
in
And
Tampa. A lot
they're,
of generational Sicilians in
Yeah,
Tampa.
and they're wonderful. I love performing there. But again, my shows aren't just for Italians, but the majority of the people. So I'm going to be more in the mainstream areas now, like the Seattles and the Georgia. I'm doing Atlanta, Georgia.
Love that.
Yeah,
And your website for tickets.
is tarajokes.com.
You are gonna kill it.
Thank you.
I know that you're already killing it, but you are definitely gonna kill it.
Tara's
Your
been
content is
killing
stellar.
it for a while.
Yeah.
For a long time. You've been doing stand-up how long now?
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah, full time.
Yeah.
Really, not I should say full time. Like really put my heart into it. Like 12 years ago, I did it on and off in my 20s, but never counted that. And then started again 12 years ago. And these last, I'd say, 2 years, I have been 3 years. I'm hit the ground running. I'm this is it. It's do or die. It happens.
Do you ever look back and say and just think about where you were then and where you were now?
I should because sometimes and Sal will attest to this. You're so in it and you don't see the growth. Even when you said, "Oh man, you've gotten so much, bigger since you were last here," and I was like, "Have I? What?" You kind of don't realize as it's happening. And I'm like, God, 10 years ago, what I've given to be "Oh yeah, I got a tour. I'm starting January 9th. I'm going to be on the road for 6 months." But instead I'm oh my God, how are sales and what's this and what video and what markets am I not in and why aren't I selling as well in this one area and what do I got to do? It's such a business,
Right.
That
That you're wrapped up in.
that you get so wrapped up in it, and that I have to be more grateful for where I am. I've been literally seriously being it sounds so cliche, but it's I have to actually start stating how grateful I am for things to change my mindset of being what else do I got to do? What happens next? Okay, now what? Then when I film the special, then where does that go? Where's the new hour come from? I'm 12 steps ahead of myself and not enjoying that I'm going to be selling out shows across the country. Duh, be happy now. But it's not. It's just not the nature of the business, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. You're more. I mean, that kind of makes it what it is for us. It's that chase, and it's that how do I get better? And you look back and people going, "Oh my God, you're great." Say, yeah, sure. But what's bigger? What's next?
Right.
But that's what propels you forward. That's what moves you forward.
Is it the chasing of a high? The chasing of the
I
high
think
of
that's
the next
performance.
best
That's.
thing?
I don't think that has to do with the business side of it.
I feel it's almost like imposter syndrome. It's you never feel like you've arrived.
Right.
I'm am I a comedian now? Am I in the store now? Am I a headliner now? Am I this now? Am I you're constant
The high comes when you're not looking at yourself in a mirror or your career under a microscope.
Yeah.
That's where the high is, when you're on stage, when you can let go of that.
That's my best time. The happiest I ever am is the hour that I have to be on that stage. Everything else leading up to it sucks. It's business. I wake up and I'm online. It's a different animal, I think, than it ever was. But the hour I'm on that stage makes it worth it. And the other people who acknowledge it. I was on the road. I was done with the majority of my shows December 7th this year. And another comic, a bigger comic, Josh Wolf, was like, "Hey, I have an East Coast theater tour. Just jump on mine so you have work through the rest of the year." And he's like, "I know your patience level with your career is you're up to here with things." He's like, "But I'm watching it happen for you. I know exactly where you are in this. And it's where you're just about to hit. And you can't see it. But I see it."
And there's also waves, which messes with your head.
Right. Because
You
you're
know?
on a high, and then all of a sudden it's okay, now
Yeah.
what?
Well, it's also what he said before, 12 years ago, could you have seen this? It's I don't think 12 years ago, I would have been worried about working for the next 2 weeks. I'd be okay, if I can get through the next 2 weeks. Now you book the next 6 months and
know.
you're panicking.
I used to be I just want to pay my bills with comedy. And now I'm
Yes.
that's not good enough.
No.
Yeah.
You can't just pay my bills. I need more.
Yeah.
It's really nice to hear it from the two of you, because I do my best to try even for like my own path. Like I'm not happy like unless I have something in the pipeline. And I often think that it's just like a me thing, but it's nice to hear that other talented people are going through the
Yeah.
same thing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Speaking of pipeline, when do I get to see Tara in the movies and on television?
I've had a few very cool and close auditions for some cool projects, but as of now, I have a bunch of scripts handed to me. It's just, I think it's taking people a lot to get things off the ground these days.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And some things get canceled. And
The
some
landscape
things
of
get
it has changed.
rescheduled. And
Yeah.
so the focus for me, the platform is always going to be stage, but from that, I am getting other opportunities, which are exciting and which hopefully in 2026 come to fruition
Have
once
you
they're
ever-
filmed.
Have you ever gotten a call for voiceover work? Because I can totally see that.
No, so it's so funny. I went to this. I'm a very big hip hop head, and I went to this event that honored Biggie Smalls, and somebody was there and talking to me, and he's like, "I'm doing this cartoon about New York, and I'd love to have you in it." And I'm like, "This is my moment."
Yeah.
I'm like, "This is exactly what I was meant for." But no, I don't. I don't do.
That's the first thing that came
Yeah.
to my mind was like, you would, not that you wouldn't be a great actress, but like knock that out of the park like times 50. You just have to be yourself.
It's so crazy. It's that to me, this is nails on a chalkboard. To hear myself, I'm gonna watch these clips and be like, blow your brains out. You sound horrible. And other people will tell you like, oh, she's forcing the accent. I'm like, you think I'm trying to sound like? And you can tell when people force it. Like there are people that have imitated me online or done other things where you're like, you don't sound like that. You're definitely trying hard. When these cameras go off, we all sound like this, unfortunately. And
Anthony has a higher pitched voice. He doesn't sound like this.
yeah.
No, definitely not. I hear it too. I'm right there with you. I've spent a lot of money on projects that I've taken out of rotation because I'm like, oh, I could do that better. I will maybe 5 years from now, but this can't exist anymore.
No, I know. My voice. So, some people it's an anomaly. Like they love it. They're like, "Oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
I love the way you sound." Or especially if they're not from New York. To other New Yorkers, they're like, "Oh, shut her up." Unless they thank me for representing them. Now that there's a little bit of fame behind me, they're like, "We love you. Thank you for representing us." But
Oh,
before
yeah,
that,
yeah.
my voice was like horrific to them.
I was on vacation with my family, and we were in, I think, Cabo San Lucas, and there was this Midwestern family sitting right across from us, and we could just see them kind of staring and like gawking all day, and finally it kind of came out. They were completely fascinated,
Yeah.
like by like that we were New Yorkers, and like they called us like the Corleones. Like I thought it was hysterical.
Yeah.
People,
they would get
they
really-
are
they're really
fascinated
into
with
it.
Italian
Yeah.
American New York culture.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Italian American New York culture.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a real thing. Whether they associate you with The Sopranos, which is like that's not real life, but I get what you're saying. But it is in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The market, the deli, the language, the tracksuits,
The family
People go
dynamics.
with
Yeah.
how important family was. Like I got interviewed the other day, and they were like, "Oh, is Sopranos a good depiction of Italian American culture?" I'm like, not necessarily. I mean, I get what they're doing with the mob aspect of it, but yes, in language, yes, in family, yes, in how we communicate and do things and celebrate and mourn. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
a real.
I tell people all the
Or
time.
solve problems.
I tell
which
people
is not a bad. Which
No.
is not a bad thing.
There's so much. There's so much that could be gleaned from that. I
Right.
tell people all the time that my mother, like Tony Soprano's mother, loves me so much she'd have me killed.
Right.
So I think it's very true to life.
But people are so
They're
fascinated,
fascinated.
by it.
My wife and I took one of those auto trains back from Florida, which is great. Like you don't have to drive. You put your car on the train. You have like a room with a shower and everything and a bed, and then they have like a dinner bell, which is something I'll never do again. Is eat dinner on this train.
Okay.
We go and
Why?
we're sat with
it
another.
Seems so like
Well, everyone is 100.
okay.
That's the first thing, which is to be expected.
Okay.
But you're with people from all over the country, and we were seated across from a couple, like at a table with a couple from Maryland, an older couple, and they look at my wife and I, and they guess the obvious.
Right.
Oh, so where are you from? We're from New York. Oh, are you Italian? And we're like, oh yeah. They go, oh, we love The Godfather. I'm like, thank you. For your,
I know. It's like,
I said thank you for your patronage, and then John almost choked on her food.
I know.
And
At least they didn't say Italian.
I
Yeah.
had
Italian.
Italian on a podcast. the
You
other day.
Italian.
But it's so funny. It's like really, but it's like they
What's the
don't mean
you?
to be like. Or if I have somebody who's not Italian in one of my shows, they'll come over to me after.
Yeah.
I knew what you were saying because my neighbor's Italian, and I'm like, oh, okay,
That's great. Do you know him? They always tell you their last name too.
Yeah, I know.
Like you're gonna go like,
Right.
oh my God, my
Right.
mother was
I
a
know.
so and so.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Do
But-
you know? I'm like,
My
no.
hairdresser's Italian. Oh my.
Yeah.
But
This
they'll say that. Like, I knew your joke because our neighbors are Italian. I'm like, it's not,
Well, it's the same
nothing.
thing with you when you tell people you're from New York City and they've met someone from New York City. They will try to see if you know them.
Well, what's beautiful about it in this way, and I try and say, is like they're just trying to relate to you because they feel
Yes.
that there's something about you that's related to them, and they want to
Yeah.
match it.
Well,
and
that
it
they
really
love and
is-
admire.
It's a beautiful human experience.
It's
It's,
like
just funny when it's like just so
Do you know
general.
so and
I'm
so's
like, I don't
13
know.
million people here?
Yeah, I don't know where to go.
I
with
know that
this.
exact
Yeah.
person.
Like, where were you from? I don't know. It's funny.
One of my favorite things that you're doing right now, and last time it was the podcast, and I can go on and on about the chemistry between you, Catherine Narducci, you and Chaz Palmentieri, and you know how incredible it is to be. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say to be a comic who's
Yeah.
recognized by actors from our
Yeah.
childhood.
Yeah.
You
Big
know, like
time.
that's
Absolutely.
and brilliant minds and brilliant writers
Yeah.
and brilliant artists.
it's a huge
Great
honor.
friends.
And it
They're
means,
truly
you know,
champions.
and I hope that rings with you. I hope that resonates with you.
It does. Sometimes
Yeah.
I don't realize it because then you get so close to people and you don't realize how iconic they are. And it's like, what are you talking about? I was just at his house for Christmas. But it's like, oh, no, wait
Yeah.
a minute. This is like a legend.
Right.
You know, like, or even Catherine, sometimes I'll have to run my sets. Like, I had a big audition and I wanted to run this 5 minutes. I was going all over the city doing it. And she's just walking in places with me and people like, oh my, and she's just watching me run my 5 minutes. And to me, it's like, it's what she does. She's my friend. She's like just trying to help me. But to other people, like, you brought her here? And I was
And-
like,
And yet, my favorite thing to watch right now, and your stand-up is
Yeah,
wonderful.
thank
Please,
you.
if you haven't seen Tara live, she's a killer. She's
you.
a shark on the stage. It's incredible to watch. My favorite thing to watch is you interact with the people of the Bronx on
Oh
the street
yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
and just run around with
Yeah.
a camera and a microphone.
yeah, it's a
And
lot
all
of
the
fun.
words and all the
Yeah.
different, like, there's just that, the way you react with the public, just
I
yourself.
love it 'cause
It's incredible.
unscripted and
Yeah.
it's New Yorkers, tourists, transplants, and it's just so it really shows you the melting pot of New York City and how some things we think are so universal, but they really are just so specific
Yeah.
to New York that you're like, what do you mean you know what a pocketbook is? Like, you know,
Pocketbook, oh my
And then
gosh.
I remember I said pocketbook, and people were like, no, Tara, it's pocketbook, and I'm like, oh, I
Yeah,
even
it's
get
pocketbook.
corrected. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love it. You know, like, or people just don't know, like, brassiere, or like the things that like we grew up hearing that are like old school words
Brassiere.
that people don't know what they are. It was like,
Underwears.
Right.
They always had an S at the
feel like
end of
po-
it.
Porter waters.
Pocketbook
People
is
didn't
a
know
New
what
York
porter
thing,
waters
though.
was. It was a very borough
Porter
thing.
waters.
That's
That's
great.
a generational thing. That's like,
My mom says.
I don't-
Like, pocketbook is New York. My mom says. it.
yes, it's a New York thing.
Pocketbook is a New
It's
York
not
thing.
like I was at
A
people.
little Irish lady. Give 'em a
It's like in
pocketbook.
Chicago, they call soda pop, which I have no clue
Yeah.
In
why.
the South,
that drives me
South
crazy.
they call it Coke, and they're like, "What kind of Coke do you want?"
But
Like,
it's
"Oh,
also
Sprite."
it's also like a language that's dying. Like quarter waters, I didn't learn that from my parents. I learned that from my mother-in-law.
Oh.
You know, like her family still uses it, but they're very old
Johnny
school.
Pump.
The
People-
Johnny
Johnny
Pump,
Pump,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Nobody knew what a
Johnny
Johnny Pump was.
Nobody knows what the Johnny.
Nobody
Pump
knew what a
is.
Johnny Pump was.
What the hell
I mean,
is
some
Johnny-
people.
Yeah,
did.
You don't know what a Johnny Pump is? It's a fire hydrant.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I forgot who I was with.
Oh, here we go.
I was with Carlo and Lou from the Carlo
Oh, yes.
Russo and Lou Greco, Uncle Louie
Uh-huh.
Variety
Yeah,
Show.
Louie Variety.
We were out in Detroit with a magician from up in Rochester or Buffalo. This kid Anthony, and I'm parking and I go, oh, Johnny Pump, and I start to pull off the curb, and they're like looking at each other like, what the fuck did he just say? It's like, oh, fire hydrants, Johnny Pump.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't.
No, you don't realize. You think all these things, they're so either generational or like specific to location. That
Oh yeah.
like New York, it's our own language we speak. I always say that. And that's like, I loved that people did. And it kind of got sentimental about it. I'm like, these words may die out with this generation. And that's how I kind of got my audience by chance. I just
And you're
started
keeping
saying
it alive.
things that made me,
We
yeah.
we were talking about it before, like the way people kind of react when you do it straight up with just you, and you say these words and people start to tear you apart. But when you do them with other people,
Yeah.
and it's like random people on the street who are co-signing on this language, it's so much more universally
Yeah, it is.
accepted. And then how many people in the comments with other stuff like
That's where I sometimes get my other video ideas
Yeah.
from. I'm like, thanks, guys. You just wrote my whole new set of On the Street, because people will bring up things. Like I did a thing, somebody made fun of the way I said gas in a video. Like I said, 89, fill it up 89. They're like, what are you, a
89,
70-year-old
89,
guy
Nine?
from
the
Forest
number.
Hills? Like,
Yeah.
what are you?
Yeah.
Because, I guess it's how I grew up hearing it, and then I say it. Like, you don't realize how much.
Super.
Yeah.
Super.
I always say super.
Super. I don't
That's
say.
all I say is super.
No.
Everyone knows what I mean.
But
I went to
People
a
don't
gas.
know?
No, they do know. They
Oh.
don't know what I do because I'm like 117 ordering gas.
No, see, it's and it's just so great. It really is, and it's thought provoking. It's
Yeah.
it's
It's nostalgic. And
It
that's
really is.
Really what, and people get insight into
My-
how New
my
It
York-
always hits
favorite-
home on social media.
my favorite part of the Tara Cannistraci business. So,
Thank you.
Tara Cannistraci
You're
is.
saying it correct.
I'm saying it
Cannistraci.
correctly.
I Americanize it. I say Cannistraci.
But
I-
that's my favorite part of the Tara Cannistraci business right now. My favorite corner
Yeah.
is the word on the street right now. It's great. Tara, you're great.
Thank you.
You're so great to come here twice to
I know.
Whitestone.
Yeah,
If this
thank you.
one
Really
is
are.
filmed, we're doing it from my living room next.
Fair
okay?
enough.
Just to show you how great a friend Tara is.
Guys, for having me.
Thank you, Tara. And this will be out next.
Yes.
Whenever
Nice.
that is.
Yeah.
Yes, whenever that is.